Hey guys, welcome to After Hours. This is going to be episode 32. I know I'm being quite prolific and just popping them out week after week, but I hope people are still enjoying them, getting a lot from them. Definitely hit me up with comments and Instagram or on the platform. It's all good. But thank you to people who are commenting, who are still listening. The my kind of listener followers is just going up. Just growth is amazing. So thank you so much, people. I'm just kind of over the moon at how kind of quickly it's ramped up. So thank you. But keep spreading the word. We want more people to be listening to my amazing guests' stories. It's just been fantastic. Yeah, I know I haven't really talked about kind of stuff in the news, but last week, when you're listening to this, probably a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys died. And, I know he was, what, 82, 83, so good innings, but, Brian did suffer with, mental health issues, but I think he coped with a lot of alcohol and drugs through the kind of 60s and 70s into the 80s. But, he kind of he did come out of that. But I think back in the day when I was kind of listening to that kind of music, I always thought the alcohol and the drugs were kind of expanding his kind of mind and you know really giving him all this extra kind of creativity and just like looking back now, it definitely couldn't have been doing that. He was using it as a coping mechanism. He had the skills and the talent that was already there. That wasn't enhanced by the drugs or alcohol. That's just some myth that I was kind of holding on to, that the more drugs I took, the more kind of talented I might be. Didn't work out. I absolutely numbed any kind of ounce of kind of skill I might have had. And when I was doing photography, when I got sober, my photography just kind of took off again. The whole time I was drinking, it was just numbing that out, and my creativity was just completely um, gone. So yeah, so Brian, as I say, who knows what kind of output he might have come up with, had he not been kind of drinking and drugging through the kind of late 60s and early 70s. Not to say that his output wasn't absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to kind of put a little kind of message on here to, rest in peace, Brian, because, his output was just fantastic. I listened to a lot of his music a lot of the time, and God only knows. Yeah. So it's just amazing. But yeah, so today, this Monday, we have Rickey Franks Jr. Now, Ricky popped up on my Instagram, and I loved his page, his Instagram page. It was just amazing. So I just thought I need to get him on the pod. And I knew he was from the US, but when you start listening to it, he has this amazing southern drawl from Alabama, and it's to me it's just hypnotic. I love his accent. And we joked. I just hope people can kind of, he was joking about how people could understand either him and a Scotsman on the same podcast. So yeah, unfortunately, there's no subtitles, so you'll just have to kind of go with it and repeat if you have to. I don't think my Scottish accent's that kind of non-understandable, but non-understandable, is that even a word? Anyway, so Ricky was kind of a buzz seeker, thrill seeker, always looking to kind of live life to the fullest on a whole different level. He started smoking cigarettes at 5. His first real drink was around the age of 12, I think. But Ricky knew what he wanted to do. He became a machinist at the age of 18. He bought a house, got married at 19. Um, stayed married for 20 years, but from his words, it was a bit of a nightmare of a marriage. And he was just drinking and drinking and using to kind of cope with that. He did get out of it, but that was after 20 years of just numbing everything with alcohol and I guess drugs as well. So, for Ricky, he drank on a good day, drank on a bad day, any old excuse, and this is his story. So, sit back and enjoy and listen for the similarities. See you at the end. Cheers, guys. Ricky, my man, welcome to After Hours, mate. How are you today?
Great. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's so you're. I mean, the listeners are going to absolutely love your accent, like I do, man. As you said, like with a Scotsman and like a deep drawl Alabama accent, people might be like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" But hopefully they'll understand us. But yeah, so thank you so much for giving up your Saturday to come on and have a chat with me, man. Yeah.
Yeah, this might definitely be one that they will need subtitles for.
Subtitles on an audio podcast. Yeah, exactly, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I say, we are recording the video, so I may use that at a later date, but normally I just try and keep it to the audio. I know a lot of
Okay.
podcasts, they're turning into video now, but for me, when I listen to podcasts, and podcasts were a great source of my recovery, I listen to them at work, on my headphones, so I can just go on.
Hmm.
If I have to watch a video, I have to set aside time, to sit down and watch it.
Right.
So at the moment it's just audio. So yeah, so Ricky, tell us about your kind of childhood, where you grew up, and I suppose when you had your first drink, man.
Okay. Well, of course, I grew up here in Alabama.
Nice.
Um, I would say my childhood was normal Southern living. Something I felt might have been different about myself is uh, I'm kind of like a seeker,
Mm-hmm.
always looking for that next thing, even as a child, like whether it be riding dirt bikes and things like that. Then I can also remember like me and my cousins stealing cigarettes from our parents at 5 years old and
Mm-hmm.
smoking cigarettes at five. Like we were always looking for that new thing just to push the limit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess that was part of my attraction when it came to alcohol is I don't know, I just wanted to sense something new. In the beginning it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't to like numb pain.
Mm-hmm.
It was to live life on a whole nother level. So I thought. Um I could, when I had my first drink, I was probably, well, specifically, I was 12, the one that really mattered. And I had a sister who's 4 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on vacation with my family, and my sister stayed home. Well, apparently, my sister had a party while we were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, of course, like a little brother, I was digging through her closet when we got back,
Yeah.
and I found a whole gallon of whiskey.
Mm.
And so that's where the fun began, really. Of course, I would share it with my friends. We would camp out and we would act like it tasted good, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So that was at a very young age. And then I had other friends that had older siblings too. So it became a thing where you could lean on other siblings or maybe parents you might could sneak a few away from or
Mm-hmm.
grandparents or somehow we always just seemed to be able to get our hands on some alcohol.
Yeah.
So we're at a very young age doing this, and it become an often occurrence. Um, then, by the age of 14, I smoked weed for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. It was just the next step in taking something else to another level.
Yeah.
And done a lot of that. That really opened the door for some other things. Um, but that kind of started to the point at 15. I was smoking weed every morning before I went to school.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, you seem to be able to get by with stuff like that more then than possibly now. At least I hope so. I hope kids are not getting away with some of the things that I done
Yeah.
as a child.
Yeah. I
Uh,
concur. I mean, the weed smoking is kind of Like if you were drinking at school, clearly people are going to see there's a change in you. But if you're just stoned like I was at, high school, I mean, I started smoking weed, drinking about 14, 15, same as you. And it's like you could go into class and like I wasn't a scholar. I wasn't like, getting the highest marks and stuff. So the teachers kind of left me alone. Me and my crew were just kind of left alone. So we would just be in there stoned, maybe messing about, having a bit of a giggle, but they're not going, oh my God, he's stoned. Or even if they did, they're not able to do anything about it, because you're not
Yeah,
really disrupting and being drunk. That's a bigger
right,
disruption, I guess, for people than just someone being stoned at the back of the class, maybe with one headphone in, hiding it and listening to, I don't know, Pink Floyd or Nirvana or something. So yeah, yeah,
right.
I totally get it, man. Yeah.
So I guess like the next stage of it was uh started moving into more things like pills, started messing with cocaine and stuff a little bit.
Hmm.
But I guess you could call it a good thing or a bad thing. Whenever I graduated, I already knew the profession I was going to go in,
Right.
and I could currently start working in that profession while I went to school. So at the age of 18, I had to know I was subject to drug test.
Hmm.
So at an early age, I was able to go ahead and put the drugs behind me. But hey, I don't care if you drink, so as long as you don't drink at work.
Yeah. And
You
so
know,
what was your chosen profession then? Was that
I'm a machinist.
right? Right. Cool. Cool.
And so, like I said, I started in that profession at 18
Yeah.
while I went to school to learn about it. So I just kind of, even then I wouldn't like drink every day or nothing.
Hmm.
But I bought my first house at 19 and then I got married
Wow.
at 19. And the house, I bought this real small little house and it was right in between downtown area and the school
Hmm.
system. So it was like a hot spot. It was a tiny little house, and I guess we tried to fit as many people as we could in there. It become like the little party house.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, One of my friends would stop by on Wednesdays. He'd be like, "Hey, let's go ahead and just start drinking a little bit." So at that stage, we started drinking on Wednesday, and we drink through to Sunday. Every
Mm.
night, but not. Still, that's not abnormal for someone
No. No.
really in their 20s. They're
Yeah.
going to experiment and do things like that.
Yeah. And
Um,
the thing is, you're from the outset, you're successful. You got married, you've got a house, you've bought a house, and
mhm,
like, what's the problem in having a drink?
right.
you've earned it. You're working hard, you're earning, and so yeah, you're gonna blow off steam. Yeah, it's no issue there. That's what society says anyway. Yeah.
Right. So, as I stayed married for 20 years,
Hmm.
and it was very bad marriage, and so a coping mechanism became drinking.
Yeah.
Uh, and we both drank a lot during that time, and so that's where I would say I started using it to cope.
Hmm.
Um, then, of course, that all fell apart, and I used it even more to cope because that's how I'd quit thinking, quit dwelling on the things of all we went through. We went through a very bad divorce. It was 2 years long. The divorce was,
Hmm.
the kids being pulled around and just all the things that you said you had never allowed to happen. You've allowed to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what my role was in that, I had a role and I allowed it to happen.
Mm.
And so that then I got to where uh, I I didn't know how to do anything else but drink with everything. On a good day, you drink. On a bad day, you drink.
Yeah.
On an average day, you drink. It's what you does. It
Hmm.
it becomes part of your life. You can't do anything without your friend alcohol. Y'all do everything together.
Yeah, and I used to plan everything around it, and it would be like, if we were going somewhere, even on a hike, it was like, Would I have some with me? Were we going to go to a pub afterwards? Where were we going for lunch? I couldn't go to a cafe for lunch because they didn't serve alcohol. I didn't need to
Mhm.
have meet up with my friend at least a couple of times during the day and then in the evening, and that was it. Yeah, it was constantly working my world around that. Yeah.
And so then, I was out and doing the single life thing because I was divorced. I never did really get get wild or anything. People say, you hear a lot about you can't hang out with your old friends and get sober and all. The problem was I was the bad friend.
Mhm.
I didn't need to be around myself because
Yeah.
no matter where I went, there I was. As the AA
Yeah. Yeah.
slogan there.
Yeah.
I was there. I was the problem. I
Hmm.
like to drink at home by myself. I didn't have to share it with nobody if I was drinking
Hmm.
by myself. And so that just was a continual thing. I managed it. Sometimes I was more hungover than others, but I still managed to get up and go to work
Hmm.
and just drink when I got home. Of
Yeah.
course, you start having a few days where you're shaking a little bit, but it'd pass, you know. Then I'm currently married now. I've been married for almost 4 years.
Hmm.
And when me and my wife were dating, um, we kind of came to a point where I was like, "Hey, let's let's move forward with our relationship, or let's just stop," because it's like I'm already in my 40s at this time, and I really don't have time. We really got along great. Everything was great, but I was like, let's either move forward or stop. So
Yeah.
we just kind of took a break from each other. And during that time, I just kind of gave up. I gave up on life, and drinking got really bad then.
Hmm.
Um, that's where you start drinking in the morning.
Mm.
You have to drink all day, but you're shaking pretty bad in the morning,
Hmm.
you know, and getting sick. So we ended up after that, several months there, we ended up getting back together and we got married.
Hmm.
But the damage was kind of already done because I had just completely given up. So she knew I drank. She had no. I I'm the kind of person that people couldn't really tell. One, if your natural state is being intoxicated,
Yeah.
nobody knows what you're intoxicated. You know,
Yeah.
they only know the drunk you.
Hmm.
And I'm a laid back person, so when I'm drinking, I'm just a little bit more laid back.
Hmm.
I don't act crazy. I don't get real mad. And so she had no idea how much I was drinking. She
Hmm.
knew I drank, but and so it got to the point where I was got to where I was having to start drinking at work. I was I was waking up about 2 o'clock in the morning and I'd already be withdrawing at about 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I have to get up and get me a couple shots or something and try to go back to bed for a few hours, get back up, take a few more shots, go to
Hmm.
work. And so we got married in June, and in October, right after we got married, I got up at one of the times at 2 o'clock in the morning to drink. And I was like, hey, you've got a problem. It lies to you. You don't realize how bad you are.
No.
One, you don't want to admit it. And two, it's like alcohol don't want you to, it don't want to leave you. It's
No.
there with you.
Yeah.
And so I woke her up and I said, hey, I've got a problem. You don't realize how much I'm drinking, but I'm having to get up and drink it during the night. I'm drinking at work. I said, I've got to go somewhere today.
Yeah.
So we worked it out, called my job and everything, and I went to a 21-day rehab.
Yeah.
The rehab I went to was it's kind of a rough place. I knew nothing about rehabs,
Hmm.
but I knew the name of this one. There was a big name in our area, and it wasn't that far. And I was like, well. anywhere they'll get me in, I'll go to.
Yeah.
Most of the people there were court ordered to be there. They weren't people that were like, oh, I just want to get better, so I'm going.
They're doing it to get a sign off from the judge so that they get a lenient
Yeah.
sentence or get back to work or yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So there was still a good bit of drug use going on in the treatment facility. There was a
Oh,
lot of stuff going on, and and it being my first time, I was like, I felt like I was being punished, even though
yeah.
I admitted myself into there. I was like, well, am I being punished because I can't drink like everybody else? I can't just have a few. I love drinking.
Yeah.
People, people talk about it. And, oh well, I hate it. No, I had a lot of great times drinking, a lot
Hmm.
until it started drinking me, until I started having a problem with it.
Yeah.
And so I completed the 21 days. And when my wife come to pick me up, I wouldn't even drive. I was like, I didn't know how to feel. I
Hmm.
didn't know if I was still going to like my wife or if she was still going to like me because I didn't know what anything was like being sober.
Yeah. This is a
All
whole
I
new
knew was,
experience.
yes.
Yeah.
And just being being in this world and not having something to numb you,
Yeah.
and you're all of a sudden feeling everything. So I came back, went back to work, doing outpatient treatment,
Hmm.
which was during COVID because this was in 21.
Yeah.
And so we were doing it through Zoom. And so it was 3 weeks in treatment. After about 2 weeks out of treatment, I was talking to my wife and I was like, I think now that I've had this little bit of time of being sober, that I could go back to drinking and drink like everybody else does.
Mm.
I didn't listen to that when the saying of uh, once a pickle, never a cucumber again. You can't go back. Yeah,
No.
once you become an alcoholic, you're an alcoholic. You don't go back and act like everybody else. It don't work that way.
No.
So I told her, I was like, next time me and my wife have 4 daughters. Our two youngest still lived at home.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, next time they end up just going somewhere, we'll try it again. We'll just see how it goes.
Mm.
So had a total of 6 weeks sobriety. They just so happened that both of them went out of town that weekend to go stay with the same friend
Hmm.
because they're 1 year apart and they have the same friends and all that. And so we tried it. It's like, that was successful. We just drank about a 6 pack or something, which is the worst thing you'd done. It'd been better just to go off the rails right off the bat. But
Yeah.
so I just went right down that trail. So which you can't, this is more of an audio podcast, but I'll show you. I have this bottle. When I went in treatment the first time,
Yeah.
they gave me this bottle because they wanted you to constantly be drinking water, Gatorade, and stuff like that to help
Yeah.
hydrate your system from all the abuse.
Yeah. For the listeners, Ricky's
And
just showing me like it's just a fairly standard kind of plastic with metal top, drinking bottle. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
just anything you could drink fluids out of
Yeah. But it's nice
with a
that they've
screw
given
on
you that.
top.
It's almost like a symbol because it's a symbol that this is not an alcoholic bottle. This is you're going to put like, good stuff in this and drink that, hydrate yourself well. Yeah. Yeah.
So within about 6 months of them giving me that bottle, I was putting liquor in that bottle
Yeah.
and taking it to work with me because once you get clean and go back, you go back worse.
Yeah.
You don't go back to the same level.
No.
And so the tool I was given to help me get better, I was now using to help me get worse or to help me maintain my addiction.
Yeah. And hide it. And hide it. You're
Yeah.
blatantly not, you're like trying to smuggle that into work. Oh, I'm just drinking, water. And yeah, but you got vodka or what whiskey
Yeah,
goes in
vodka.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
vodka was my
And
was my tipple.
I don't know if anybody they're probably out there that drinks vodka because they like it. Most people, vodka's for you can't smell it.
Yeah.
Alcoholics like to use it because you can
Yeah.
drink it and nobody knows.
Nobody knows. I mean, that's the thing. Like people said, "What did you drink? Did you like vodka?" Because I could drink like a half bottle or whatever it is, like 50 cl, like in like a couple of gulps. So from the
Hmm.
outset, people would be like, "Well, you must like the taste," and I'm like, "The taste is, it's I don't even taste it. It's not that. It's like I need it. It's my medicine because this is going to make
Yeah.
me feel better." So it
Yes.
doesn't even the taste is kind of gone a long time ago. It's just I need this. It's like drinking water because I know it's going to make me feel normal again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, as far as it getting worse that time, my body really switched over to where the absence of alcohol would make me sick.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of drinking a lot would make you sick, it was the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like my body had to have it. So when I would get up at 2 in the morning to drink, it was because I'm getting sick and I'm shaking. If I'll take a couple shots or so, it'll go away
Yeah.
because you're withdrawing.
Yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
back at it now, then you're ignorant. And so 11 months after I checked into my first treatment center, I woke my wife up again. And she said, and told her, I said, "Hey, I got to go. I got to go again."
Mm-hmm.
So in our first 2 years of marriage, I went to treatment twice.
Yeah. Wow.
So she didn't know what she was signing on for, but she really hung in there with me.
Yeah, I've got to say, man, commend to her because a lot of other people might have gone, Jesus, this isn't what I signed up for. I'm off.
Right.
I don't need this. So, yeah, well done her for sticking by you. Yeah.
The more I think about it, she is a key part. Not that my recovery hinges on anyone,
Hmm.
but she has been a key part of my recovery. And
Yeah.
it's like God put that piece of the puzzle in there for me before I knew I needed it because she's my best friend. And a lot
Hmm.
of people don't have relationships like that. We tell each other everything, and we're just right there no matter what the other person needs, we're there. But so
Yeah.
I took her, here I go to treatment again. This time I had a different mindset. I went to a different place as well,
Hmm.
which it wouldn't have mattered what the place was I went to the first time.
Hmm.
I didn't have the right mindset. Even though I thought I was ready to get sober, I was not.
Hmm. Hmm.
This time I was. And I told her, I said, "Listen, I know all this sobriety stuff. I went to 21 days of treatment and I went to about 6 weeks of outpatient treatment." All that. So I know I'm just going to go and detox there. I'll come back home.
Hmm.
I went there, and after I detoxed for 3 days, I called her and I said, "Hey, no, I need to stay the 21 days. I'm ready. I'm ready to get better. And
Hmm.
this place has the tools to help me." And so while I was there, I done everything. I didn't miss a single class. I didn't miss nothing. I absorbed everything I could.
Hmm.
And that was I checked in there um, September the 21st of 22, and I hadn't touched a drink since then.
Wow.
But
Well done, man. That's
treatment,
amazing. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Treatment is the beginning, though.
Yeah.
That's that's just getting started. That's where the work begins.
Yeah.
Um, what you don't want to hear is the truth of it is staying sober becomes your full time job.
Hmm.
It's you have to work that. You have to work a plan every day.
Hmm.
And the people that don't work a plan, they relapse. I don't know how many people you've stayed in contact with from that, you know, you've tried to get sober with, but
Hmm. Not
statistically,
not
we're in the
many.
minority.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
So,
crazy. I mean, I heard like I think it might be up now, but people banned about this percentage of like 2% or 4% of people that are in addiction, in active addiction that get sober. Only 2 or 4% stay that way, and Like you, it's giving me goosebumps hearing your story, Ricky, because so many similarities, and that's what they say: listen for the similarities and not the differences. And I bang that over on this podcast. But you know, I spent time in a treatment center, came out, relapsed. It was during COVID. It was during 2020, and out of I think about 20 people that I was in there with, there's two that I'm still in touch with, and I think now three that have since passed due to alcoholism. You know,
Yes.
and it's just like the first time that happened, and I phoned one of my old counselors who I'm really good friends with now. In fact, he was on the pod. He said to me, I was like, "Oh man, you know this guy, Aaron, God bless." He, I said, he's passed, and he said, "Yeah, Jimmy, you know, I know, but this happens." And he said, eventually you will, sad to say it, but you're going to become numb to it because in this world, we are the minority and you're going to see a lot of people that just can't get it. And it's so heartbreaking to see that, you know, there's not enough being done because, you know, people with other diseases have a much higher recovery rate and, you know,
Yes.
and survival rate than this because it's just this, well, if you're drinking too much, that's your own fault, you know? Which is madness. So yeah, yeah, it's just the amazing sad similarities between our stories is just unbelievable. But yeah, you're right, 2 to 4%. So we are in the minority, but we need to bang the drum and get that number up because you know it's crazy, it's madness.
Yes. It's just
Mm,
like I said, I don't base my recovery off any one individual when I was
yeah,
speaking in reference to my wife, but and you can see why I say that because we've had so many fall
yeah,
to addiction and to alcohol. Um, my my sister that I spoke about earlier is 4 years older than me. Um, when I come, so I've been sober for 9 months,
mm-hmm.
and I lost her to addiction.
Oh man,
And you think that's a recipe for a relapse right there.
yeah,
You
of
lose your
course it is.
sister after your 9 months. I mean, 90 days. I'm sorry, 90 days sober, and you
Yeah,
lose your sister. And you know, I can sit here and say, well, I should have done more, but I was sick too.
yeah,
You know, I wasn't strong enough to help her,
yeah,
but I'm strong enough to help other people now.
yeah,
You know, that's why I do stuff like this podcast or post, Instagram or different things that I do in the recovery world is partially in memory of her,
yeah, yeah,
because to give them a chance. There's so many of them that just can't cut it and can't make it and end up losing their life
yeah.
before they gain control of their life.
I'm so
Um,
sorry to hear that, Ricky, man. Yeah,
I
it's
appreciate it.
absolutely devastating, isn't it? You know, um,
I talk about having a plan. You have to have a plan for everything. You have to
mhm,
work a plan in sobriety. You can't just go through life and hope you're going to stay sober. At least that's been my experience. So I knew coming when my sister passed, um, that was a recipe for a relapse. So I told my
mhm,
wife, I said, "Hey, people relapse because of stuff like this. So
mhm.
don't leave me alone for the next 3 days.
Yeah,
If you take off work, do whatever you have to do. But this is a crucial time, and I'm at the 90-day point in my sobriety, which is where a lot of people fall there. And then you add to it that my sister's passing. Just stay with me and let's talk. Let's do everything, but just don't leave me alone."
yeah,
And I didn't relapse, but I had a plan.
mhm,
Uh, no matter what it is, I try to have a plan. Uh, Say going places. How long did you wait before you would go places that even served alcohol? Did you have a time limit?
I didn't have a time limit. I wasn't really, when I got sober, I'd come over to Isle of Man and my family were here and I didn't really know anyone apart from my family and they obviously knew what I was going through. And so it was almost kind of like just, I became a hermit for a bit. I do remember
Yeah.
going to it was a friend's 40th, and this was maybe 4 months in. So it was, it was over the 90 days. And, I was feeling strong. And I went, my family were there. My brother, my parents were there because they all knew this girl. And it was fine. But I drove, and I was like, stayed for maybe a couple hours. And there was a bar there. I had a soft drink, and I was like, right, this is it. It's time for me to go. People were having a drink and they were starting
Right.
to getting a little bit, repeating themselves and all that. So I was like, right, I'm done. I'm out of here. So I was like, right, I've done that. That's good. Um, but yeah, it was probably another year before I even started going out and socializing, and it was actually okay. Even now, I would never go and sit in a pub for a long time, sit in a bar for a long time with people because once they start to drink, it's like yeah, I'm kind of done here. I do find other things to do.
Yeah.
We go to parties quite regularly now. And in fact, last weekend I was over in the UK for my mate's 50th, and that was a bit of a hard drinking weekend. And he was my buddy from back in the day when we used to go on mad, mad benders. He's definitely calmed down a lot, but he still likes a drink, and it was his 50th. So, and I was staying at his. So, my point where I would normally duck out and go home, I couldn't because, I was staying at his. But it was actually okay. I was in that situation probably the first time when I'd been in that situation. We stayed up to like 3 in the morning. And don't get me wrong, they weren't doing shot after shot, but they were drinking,
Mhm.
and it was like, but it was okay, But this is like nearly 5 years in. So it does take a
Right.
while
Right.
before you're kind of okay with it. But as I said, I'm just not interested in being in that situation because people that are
Mhm.
drunk don't really interest me. I can't have a deep and, meaningful conversation
Right.
with them. So I'd rather do something else. But yeah, yeah. So where are you with that? Have you been to a few bars yet or
Well, so it took me a while, even like restaurants, because
mm,
restaurants here have like the draft beer. You can see them pulling the draft arm, making these big tall drafts, and and so I waited a little bit on that. I guess I would tell anybody to, whenever you think you're strong enough for that, wait
yeah.
one more month and then go.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, just that. That's another AA adage. You are selfish in your addiction, so be selfish in your recovery. Take
Without
care
a
of
doubt.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously there's the whole like I definitely went to restaurants earlier on, so I suppose that is a drinking situation, but it's like you're out with friends who the friends that I went to with meals and stuff, they weren't big drinkers, and I would say to them, listen, like that buddy that I was saying, he came over, he supported me right from the start. His name's Rob. He's an absolute diamond. He's going to be best man at my wedding, and he was there for me the whole time. So when he came over to visit, he'd be like, I'm not going to drink this whole weekend. And I was like, man, you can. He's like, no, no, no. Why would I? So we would drink like alcohol free stuff, and there's a lot of that around. I didn't touch them for potentially the first year, actually. So we're talking later on than that. When I'd go to restaurants, I'd just have ginger beer. But now, well, now I'm kind of trying to steer away from them because I'm like, why would I want to give money to the alcohol firms? But they are a good tool. I would say to people right at the beginning, don't go near them because they can be a slippery slope if you're still yearning for. So for me and you, Ricky, when we were drinking, it wasn't for the taste. It wasn't because we liked this fine bouquet of a wine or, do you know what I mean? We were drinking to get out our heads, drinking to escape,
Mhm.
drinking to numb stuff. So having an alcohol free stuff, yeah, it might be good in a restaurant or a pub situation where you're feeling kind of awkward or anxious because you're not holding a pint. That's I can get it. That's what people drink
Mhm.
it for, maybe. Um, but I always say like steer clear of them in the first year or so because they can be a slippery slope for some. But also on the flip side of that, they can be a really good tool. So it's definitely up to the individual, I guess. Everyone's different.
I agree with that. For me, I've never drank any of them
Hmm.
because I think for me it would just make me want to drink more.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people that really use those as a tool and are really successful.
Yeah.
So, like you said, I think it depends on the person. The only thing I would say about it for sure is if it's not served to you in a bottle, we'll just make sure it's served in a bottle. I know someone who's relapsed because of that.
Yeah.
They thought it was alcohol free. They ordered alcohol free. It came in draft,
Mm-hmm.
tasted funny. They kept drinking it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the relapse because it really had alcohol in it.
And it gave it
So
gave him the
once they
taste.
had already
Yeah.
drinking that, once they drank that little bit of alcohol, they had the, well, screw it. I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's dangerous, isn't it? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, I know you had asked about AA. I don't currently participate in AA,
Yeah.
but I started that way. Um, but I worked through a small group at my church. We have a men's group. I actually teach it, and
Mm-hmm.
we do like Bible study for the first hour, and then we do jujitsu the second hour. So we like beat
Nice.
each other up and stuff. But
That's
like
a
a
nice
real,
juxtaposition. Yeah.
yeah, what it is. It's a men don't talk. I thought I could handle all my problems, and that landed me in rehab and addiction.
Yeah.
So that's what the main point of that class is, that we can talk about anything going on in our life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to leave that room. It's
Yeah.
not going to be going and talked about to anybody else. And so that's like my circle.
Mm-hmm.
I think having a circle of people you can confide in is important, because I always feel like there's people out there that's got my back.
Yeah.
They're always a phone call away. We have a group text. We're going through something that day.
Mm-hmm.
You shoot it out to the group. That you got some guys that's got your back, or will talk to you or help you do whatever you need to do. So um, don't bottle things up inside.
Yeah. For me, it was NA. We have an AA group over here, but yeah, just for me, it was the NA and drugs were never a major issue for me. Yeah, I took them and all that, but it was alcohol that was the main beast for
Right.
my addiction. But NA was like, alcohol's a drug, so you're more than welcome here. So I had my little tribe. And for the first year, essentially, I was like, I was there 3 times a week. We would go on hikes. We would and we grew because it was during COVID. The group kind of grew from like 4 or 5 of us to about nearly 20 by the time I kind of thought, right, I've done my year. I'm going to start focusing on like phase 2 of my sobriety. And I still keep in touch with all those guys and I pop in from time to time. We're still, really good friends. But I just felt for me once I'd done that year, but I like the kind of militancy of it. It kept me focused. I like that when you're sharing, no one else can talk and it's like, they're listening to you. Whereas I do smart as well, but smart's a bit more easy ozy. People can kind of, give their 10 pence worth or whatever. Sometimes
Hmm.
that can be, a little bit annoying if someone's trying to give advice. It's like just let the person talk. That's what they're there
Yeah.
for. They want to get this off their chest, and
Right.
someone butting in can be a bit, off-putting. So yeah, NA for me was just it was a lifesaver, and I like you when I was relapsing after rehab and things like that. And then I got to a point where I was just, I didn't think I could get another rock bottom. And then there it was. It was
Hmm.
even deeper. And my family were just about to like, they were like, we don't know what to do anymore. You're just throwing everything back in our faces. And it's like,
Hmm.
as you know, we don't want to live like that. We don't want to do that. But
No.
when you're in that state, it's like the only thing that matters to make you feel better is the booze. And I finally checked myself into the hospital over here, and luckily they check you in and they can do a detox. So I was in for like 3 or 4 days, and I just said to myself, like, I'm gonna do everything and anything I can do that's available for me. So it was like NA,
Mhm.
CA, AA, Smart. I was doing Zoom meetings. It was every day because I didn't have a job at that point, and I was just like, this is what I have to do. And I know it's not for everyone, but people ask me like online, Instagram or whatever, and they say, what was it you did to get sober and stay sober? And I say, well, this is what worked for me. This is what I suggest to you. And then I see those same people not taking that on board. And then I see them
Yeah.
relapsing, and then I see them still doing it. And then they're out there like asking people, and I'm like, all I'm saying is do it, give it 90 days, because I'd never even heard of the 90 meetings in 90 days, but I looked back and I was like, oh, I've actually done more than that because I was just doing it every day, whether it be Zoom, whether it be in the rooms or whatever. But I
Yeah.
ended up doing more than 90 meetings in 90 days, and I was like that. It was, and I know it's not everyone can do that because of work and all that, but for me, it was I was lucky in that situation where I could do that many meetings in that many days, but and it worked. You know, I'd done it, and I was like, I've done the 3 months. I actually used a thing called antabuse. Disulfiram. Have you heard of that? So I'd
Yeah.
done that years ago because I've had a problem for a long, long time, and I used that in the past, and I've drank on that, and that is not something I would recommend for anyone.
Yeah.
And I did it this time, and I knew when I was going into the meetings this time, and I was like, this is it. I've done it this time. This because otherwise it's what jails, institutions, and death. And I'd already done a bit of jail. I'd already done the institutions, so I was like, not fancying the third option. So I was like,
Hmm.
right, this is it. I need to do it. And I just took the disulfiram as a kind of crutch. I was like, I don't want to be on it for ever. And I thought if I can get through Christmas and New Year on it, then it's hopefully going to be a lot easier plain sailing. I actually came off it just before Christmas. I didn't tell anyone, and I went through Christmas without it, and it was like, right, this is it. I'm free of that crutch now. I'm still doing the meetings, not as many as I was, but it was like, those first 3 months, 100 days are critical. And
Oh yeah.
if you can use everything, I was like eating up podcasts, I was watching YouTubes, I was watching films, and it was just reading stuff. Yeah, everything and anything I could. But because those 3 months are critical, and that's it. And it sounds like you've done a very, very similar thing as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. We also, coming out of my treatment, I done an outpatient treatment, and it was like 3 hours a day, 4 days a week, or
wow.
something like that. So it was very intensive, even once I come out of treatment,
Yeah.
which that really helped too. And so, not see, just a few months ago, I was able to go back and speak at that place where I've
Nice.
done the outpatient. So it's always good to be able to go and say, look, if I can do this, anybody can do this.
Yeah.
And that's why you and I are as a testimony to, if we can get sober, anybody can get
Yeah.
sober.
Yeah. When we're
Uh,
drinking first thing in the morning, drinking at work, I wouldn't even go to work. I would go and sit in my car. I'd pretend I was going to work, go and sit in my car
yeah,
around the corner and just sit there in my car drinking vodka, like ticking down the hours until I could go home. But I would never
yeah,
seem drunk when I got home, which was crazy because I just needed it to survive almost. And it was
yeah.
like, I'd call it my sober level. Sometimes, obviously, if I continued drinking into the evening, which I would do, then I would get, absolutely inebriated. But other times I would be, just easy ozy through the day, but drinking a phenomenal amount of vodka. Yeah, it's insane.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so what would you say was the kind of the darkest point before you kind of got back on the straight and narrow?
Well, I guess I came to the realization that I had everything I wanted except for my life was out of control with alcohol.
Yeah.
I had my two youngest daughters living in my home. I was married and had a great wife. Everything was actually going good
Hmm.
for a change, but I was just such a slave to alcohol.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of dark times that come with that, which is one thing that helps you keep from going back is not forgetting those things. I thought it was crazy when they want you to end your death. Hi, I'm Rick. I'm alcoholic.
Hmm.
Why don't you still call yourself alcoholic? And the more I journeyed through this, I realized I call myself an alcoholic every day.
Hmm.
I wake up and I'm thankful every day that I'm sober because if I don't remember who I am and that alcoholic's still in there somewhere, I'll lie to myself just like I did the first time out of treatment and say I'm not really an alcoholic, and I'll try to drink again.
Yeah.
So as long as I know there's an alcoholic part of me in there waiting,
Hmm.
and you know, I'm not going to relapse again as long as I stay on top of it and not feed.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the Tale of Two Wolves?
No, I don't think so. I
Uh,
don't think I'm familiar with that. Go on.
it's like an old Indian type story.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the grandfather says, I have two I'm fixing to butcher this to pieces, but I have I have two wolves wrestling inside of me, a
Uh-huh.
good wolf and a bad wolf. And his son says, "Well, which one's going to win?" He said, "Whichever one I feed the most." So if you
Mm,
feed that addiction side of yourself, it's going to take control of you. If
yeah.
you feed the other side of yourself, you're going to suppress that alcoholic side of you.
Yeah. I like that because it is so true. It's like, I suppose like the angel and the devil, the two wolves, it's like whatever one is speaking louder. And don't get me wrong, that little devil on my shoulder will pop up and go, "Oh, it's a beautiful sunset. Wouldn't this be nice with a, glass of wine or a beer or something like that?" And it's
Mhm.
like, no, it wouldn't, because that would numb this experience that I'm having, like that people say that, "Oh, this would go really nice with a glass of wine," and they do that and they let that in, but actually they're
Yeah.
numbing that experience, that beautiful sunset or sunrise or that amazing
Mhm.
hike that you've done and the vistas that you're seeing. You're numbing it all with, this alcohol. I used to go hiking with uh, I suppose I started with a little hip flask of dark rum, and I always told people, "Oh, well, if you're feeling the pains on the hike up to the top, and the dark rum, the alcohol, and the sugar is also good for the energy." There's a picture of me hiking Snowdon in Wales, and I've got a liter bottle of dark rum, and I'm just swigging it out of the
Mhm.
bottle. It's like that's not hiking.
Mhm.
That's an
Right.
alcoholic on the hill.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's dangerous.
It's oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it becomes very liberate. You was talking about having a nice day and making you want to drink, then you realize what it is. It
Hmm.
becomes very liberating when you can look at alcohol for what it really is. Like when you look at that bottle and it's not what it's going to taste like or feel like right now, but where it's going to take you to, the
Hmm.
future of that bottle. And when I became to that point where I could look at it and be like, I might could have fun with this for a few hours,
Hmm.
but this is just going to take me to destruction.
Yeah.
So I can't touch it because this leads to destruction every time.
Well, they say, I don't know if you've heard of SMART over there. I think it's self-management and recovery training. It's a group, and they've got their own meetings and stuff, and they have all these different tools, and one of them is play the tape forward, and it's
Mhm.
it's exactly like that. It's like, okay, you're gonna go to the shop and you're gonna buy whatever it is, your tipple. Where's that bottle or that drink going to take you? Where are you going to be by Tuesday or Wednesday? And for me, like by Wednesday, if I went out and had a drink tonight, by Wednesday I'd be on a liter bottle of vodka. I know that. And someone said to me a while back, "Oh, so are you never going to have a drink again?" And they weren't trying to tempt me. They were just curious.
Right.
And I said, listen, if I could probably go out tonight and have a drink, and I'd probably be okay. But then because my mind has told me, "Oh, well, you were okay with that drink, so why don't you have another one?" And then that becomes two and four. And before I know it, I'm right back up there. And I'm like, so the chances of it being like me not drinking is like 0.1% chance. The chance of me actually going back to where I was is like 99%. And I know that. So it's like, for what? Why would I want to take that chance to have a one
Absolutely.
beer with my friends or a glass of wine
Mhm.
with dinner? Like I don't need it. Nobody needs it. This is the thing. This is the thing that nobody realizes. And I think you and I and all the other people that are
Mhm.
on our side of the fence, it's like we've seen into the matrix and we're kind of breaking free from it because
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's excuse my Scottish, but it's a fucking lie. This whole
Mhm. Yeah.
alcoholism and not alcoholism, but alcohol being this social cultural norm, and it's like, well, you go to a wedding, there's wine and beer and alcohol. You go to a funeral, you go to anything, everything. There's just beer there. Like I started noticing recently, you now go to the cinema and buy a beer, and I was
Mhm.
like, so I'd go to the cinema. I'd have to go out halfway through because I needed the loo because I would be like, I'd get two beers and I'd be sitting there, chugging them in the cinema. And then I've missed half the film because I've gone to the toilet. And it's why are we having beer at the cinema? It's crazy,
It's at the grocery store like it's part of what you need for your survival.
Yeah, yeah,
How does that make sense? Like you're there to get nutrients for your survival, your
yeah.
food. There's tons of alcohol there.
It's
There's
stacked up like this.
yeah,
Like all the
yeah.
offers on like beer crates,
Mhm.
beer crates, beer crates, and it's like, like Christmas time. It's unbelievable the offers they have on, and it's just because you need
Yeah.
this. This is your survival guide, like you say, and you see because everyone now we're all a lot more conscious of our health. We're eating better. We're keeping ourselves fit, and I see all these people that are like conscious of what they're putting in their body, as in like, they're maybe on a plant-based diet, they're gluten-free, they're drinking water like by the gallon every day,
Mhm.
but they're still putting loads of wine and beer into their
Right.
bodies. It's like this is a poison, and
Yes.
nobody seems to realize just quite how dangerous it is because
Mhm.
they're not the bottles don't say on it like this causes 7 types of cancer, or this is gonna make your skin absolutely horrible. It's There's so many things that's wrong with it, but I think people are starting to learn this now, and I think that the alcohol companies are going to take a big hit in the next couple of years. So, Ricky, do you think that alcohol still has a place in our society? you know
Not for me, but
mm,
I think the alcohol-free movement is really going on, and
yeah,
I think the alcohol companies see it. That's why they're going to cash in on that as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So people are always going to look for an escape. They're always going to try to fill that hole. I mean, just look at addiction. Look at the evolution of all addiction right now.
yeah.
It currently, I mentioned about my two youngest daughters, but we have four daughters, and right now we are raising our newborn granddaughter because
Oh,
our oldest daughter is on drugs, and
oh, right, right.
so it's full circle in my life. That's why I work in this area to help others. Lost my sister,
Yeah,
almost lost my own life, and now is trying to take one of my daughters
yeah,
and educate people all you can. I know a lot of people are hard headed like me, and they have to learn the hard way.
mm,
But there's so much freedom in recovery.
mm. It's like go. I'm so sorry to hear about your daughter, and I'm glad that you're able to kind of bring up a granddaughter in a safe environment. But it's going back to what you were saying at like 13, 14 or whatever when you had your first joint. And I remember people saying, oh, weed's the gateway drug and this, that, and the other, and yeah, right enough, I smoked weed and then I would take like speed and maybe some acid and then it was cocaine and then ecstasy. I never did
Mhm,
heroin, but it's not weed that's the gateway drug because I didn't do weed until I'd done alcohol.
mhm,
Alcohol made everything like, oh, well, I've done this and I like the buzz I get off that. So why don't I try this one? And then it was like boom, 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 boom. I don't know a single person that is, and there definitely is people out there that have smoked weed and they're fine, but
mhm,
they wouldn't have smoked weed probably without having a drink first, because it is this socially acceptable norm. And I'm not saying that we're going to go back to prohibition times. I know alcohol's always going to be there. Maybe not in 100 years' time, but for the present time,
mhm.
no, we're not going to stop people drinking. And I'm not saying that, but I want people to be educated on just how bad it is. And it's my fiance's actually out on her hen do tonight, and she's not had a drink for 6 months, So she was like, I don't know whether I'm going to drink and this, that, and the other. I'm sure she'll have a couple, but she won't be going out and getting absolutely shit faced
Mhm,
because she doesn't enjoy that. She never really did. And she's not given up
mhm.
drinking for any particular reason, just that she knows that I suppose from listening to me, she knows it's not really good for you. And we're in our 40s now. Why would we want to keep
Yeah.
poisoning ourselves? We're getting married, we want to live long and have a happy life, healthy life. So I'm sure the temptation when she's out with her friends will be to, have a few. So I'll see what she's like when I go to pick her up later. But
So
I
where
think
what did you say she's out on?
she's out on her hen do. So maybe you guys, what do you guys call it? It's like you have a stag do, and then the women have
Yeah.
is it a
Okay,
bachelorette
yeah.
party?
Right,
Bachelorette party.
right.
That's it.
That's
So
what it is here, yeah.
we call it a hen do over here. So it's the same thing. So
Mhm.
uh, yeah. So we'll see. I think she's gonna just have a couple of drinks with the girls and then come home. But again, that whole aspect, like you're getting married, we need to take you out and get absolutely like stag do's over here, bachelor parties. They're an absolute,
Mhm.
they're crazy. There's
Right.
guys getting stitched up and then left for, dead in a park somewhere. I'm not sure, I'm sure they're not all like that, but you hear some horror stories of,
Yeah, yeah.
guys getting absolutely stitched up by their so-called mates, and
Mhm.
it's just absolutely insane that alcohol is so embedded in our society that yeah. But I think I've said this in the pod before, a lot of the young people, they seem to be steering away from it. I think it's hopefully, I'm not saying, I think unfortunately I think a lot of them are smoking weed maybe and doing other
Mhm.
drugs instead of the alcohol, but alcohol by far is the biggest killer. I know drugs are bad, but alcohol globally is definitely a worse drug. Well, let's be honest, alcohol and tobacco, the two legal drugs, are the worst
Yeah,
killers.
yeah.
I know drugs are bad, but um, something that is legal and socially accepted is just, yeah, something needs to change. But as long as we keep banging the drum and kind of trying to educate people, all I'm saying is have some labels on the bottles that say, this is actually really, really bad for your health. I've said it before. In 1988, the World Health Organization categorized alcohol as a category one carcinogen, along with tobacco,
Yeah.
asbestos, and radiation. Nobody knows about that. I didn't know that until
Mhm.
like about a month ago, and it's like,
Mhm. Yeah.
but we're allowed to just pour this into our bodies in the gallon. It's absolute madness. It's absolute madness.
I'll agree that I would say alcohol is the number one gateway drug for sure. Even though
Yeah.
people don't look at it as a drug, it's absolutely a drug. Just because it's on commercials on TV don't mean it's not a drug. It's a drug and it is a gateway drug.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe it, just talk to people in addiction and rehab facilities. They're like, "Yeah, I never done crack till I drink.
Yeah.
Once I start drinking, I want to do some crack."
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like you see the adverts on TV and it's all glamorous, people on the beach by the pool, and they're all beautiful and tanned, and they're drinking back
Hmm.
their Bacardis and their martinis and whatnot. But then they don't advertise the other end of that. When people are in the hospital and they're being told, listen, you have another drink and it's going to kill you. And all they're thinking of is, where can I get a bottle of wine? And that's the thing. They don't want to do that, but because it's the sickness that they have and they need that, they're just pressing the fuck it button and ignoring all the advice. And I've seen it. I've seen people right to the end, and it's a horrible, nasty, nasty death from what everyone is, making out to be this glamorous, yeah, drug when it is. They do this thing where they go drugs and alcohol. It's they shouldn't be a separate. It should just be drugs, and alcohol should be included in that because you know kids get educated at school about drugs. Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. But they're not telling them. Listen, alcohol's it's killing you. And the sad thing is, like with a lot of the drugs, not saying someone on crack, but someone that's taking cocaine and weed or whatever, you can kind of they can function, they can go out and do things. I'm not saying they should
Hmm.
drive, but they can drive a lot better than someone that's absolutely 10 sheets to the wind. They can barely walk,
Right.
so they definitely can't drive. I don't know why people want to get in that state, like
Hmm.
stumbling all over, not really making
Right.
sense, and then not being able to remember it the next day. How is that
Hmm.
fun, Ricky?
Yeah. I
It's
feel like, with this being, I'm not sure when this will air, but it's June. It's mental
yeah,
health month, men's mental health month.
right, right,
I think it's mental health that in men that leads us to drink
yeah,
because we're trying to carry all the weight of the world because we're men.
Mm-hmm.
We can handle everything, but
Mm-hmm.
we can't. Uh, it's it's not unmanly to see a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
talk to someone, get you a circle of friends, talk to them. Um, I'll use the AA approved find a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not designed to carry all the things that we try to carry and solve all the things we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that,
we're
yeah,
made to be independent.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It's that whole, and I think things are getting better for men. We are starting to open up, and we're starting to talk about our feelings and that. But like
Mhm,
I'm 45, and my father, he still finds it quite difficult to open up and
mhm,
explain his feelings. He's very kind of like,
mhm,
I'm a man. This is how we are. We
mhm,
don't share our feelings. So we're at that cusp kind of generation that's kind of the next generation. They're open, they're talking about it, but our generation is kind of like, no, we're men. This is what we do. We drink beer and we fight and do you know what I mean? It's that whole thing.
right.
So to
Yeah.
now, when you're going through something, because we're human, of course we're going to go through stuff. We're going to get sad. We're going to get depressed, but
Mhm,
the more we bottle it up and keep it inside, it's like, well, I don't know how to talk about this stuff. So what I'm going to do is numb myself by drinking, and it's
mhm,
so easy. It's a much easier way to do it. And then again, like if you're a man, you don't want to admit that you've got an alcohol problem because
mhm.
that might make you out to be a sissy. You can't handle your booze. So,
Yeah.
I'm not going to admit that I've got a problem here. I'm just going to hide it even more, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And someone told me in any, remember it is like, the disease of addiction. If you've got it, it doesn't get better. It only gets
Mhm,
worse, And I know that some people can, very few can come out of this and moderate, but there was no way I was ever going to moderate. It was either
mhm,
complete abstinence or, end up in the bottom of an abyss. And, I thought, yeah. And that's the hardest part, is to admit that you're never going to have a drink again. But once you do that, it's actually okay,
mhm.
because I'm quite happy.
Right.
Hopefully I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah,
have a
absolutely.
hopefully I'm going to have a long and healthy life. And the fact now that I know I'm never going to have a drink again, it doesn't phase me now, but it did at the beginning, and it was like, oh wow, what about these birthdays and Christmases and this and that? But once you get the full set over a year, it's like, yeah. And then you get a second set and a third set, and yeah, man, it's
Yeah, it goes back to like that being feeling like you're punished because you can't drink like everyone else. But now we've come to the point where we look at life different and we have a life we don't want to run from. We
yeah.
don't have to hide. It a lot of it's perspective. Could it be, man, this happened to me, or I'm thankful this can't happen for me right now.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
being able to raise my granddaughter, it's not at all what we our youngest daughter just graduated high school. We were fixing to be like what they call empty nesters. We
Yeah.
were going to do all this stuff, and now we're kind of starting over again. But a few years ago, I wouldn't have been capable of doing this.
No. No.
God has me in a spot now through my sobriety that I can raise this little girl.
Yeah.
So it depends on your outlook. You know, it be thankful, have that attitude of gratitude. All that cliche stuff that you learned about in treatment actually works as much as you
Hmm.
hated hearing it then. All the stuff that they tell you in AA and NA, all the cliche things,
Hmm.
they actually work as much as you hate the way they sound. They work.
Without a doubt. And it's not just for people in our situation. These things, these
Yeah.
mantras, these advice can work for anyone. Like, take care of your side of the street, all of that stuff. It's just day-to-day living, and there's so many people out there that are maybe not alcoholics, maybe not even gray area drinkers, but it's like, you need to take care of yourself first, and then everything else will start falling in around you. And,
Hmm.
you know, mental health is such a massive it's always been a massive thing, but I think we've got more of awareness of it now. And for me, like,
Yeah.
I went to the doctors years ago and I said, listen, I am depressed, because I think my stepbrother had said, go to the doctors, get yourself on some pills, you feel better.
Hmm.
Nobody, the doctor certainly didn't say, how much are you drinking? They just put me on pills, and the pills don't work if I'm drinking. So,
Right.
it was
Yeah.
like, but I think a lot of doctors now have this due diligence to say, to people that are coming in for depression, essentially, first and foremost, like, how much are you drinking? Oh, well, and they're going to lie. Of course, they're going to lie. They're going to say, I drink this amount a week. And then you can probably more often than not double that. And that's correct, or it's getting close to the correct amount. But if they're depressed,
Maybe triple.
maybe triple, exactly, Ricky.
Yeah.
And if they were to give up that alcohol for like a month, 2 months, 3 months, 3 months is a magic number in my mind.
Mhm.
It's where the magic starts happening. They give up for that, and then they come back to the doctor and they're still feeling depressed. Then okay, the doctor can maybe put them on something. But like if they do that first before start handing out pills, it's a no brainer because alcohol is a depressant, and let's be honest, it's not helping anyone. It's not making anything better. It's making everything number and worse off. So yeah.
Most people don't understand how alcohol works, though, like how it affects your mind to where, say, you have your baseline of how you normally are.
Hmm.
And when you drink, yes, you accelerate and are better, but when you come back down, you go below your normal line and you
Hmm.
never quite get back up to where you was. And
Hmm.
it's like a progressive downhill. You can't ever get back to your normal baseline.
Hmm.
So instead of making you better, it only makes you better for the moment. But when you come down, it makes you worse. It makes you below normal.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough talk about what alcohol really does to your psyche.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even nicotine's the same way. Well, it works in a similar way. People think I need to go out here and smoke a cigarette to calm down.
Mm,
Like, well, really, the reason why you're elevated is because you're withdrawing from nicotine right now, and you
mm,
need to go get some nicotine to put yourself back on the baseline
yeah.
because you're really different. It all messes with your mind and your emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. And this day and age we seem to be on it was funny, but I was at the weekend and there was three of us sat around and okay, they there was some weed smoking and all that. I have no problem with that, but unless it's having a negative impact on their life, crack on. But and I guess the same with alcohol. But we were chatting and it was weird. Like my friend was 50 and our other friend was 53, and we were sat around and we were talking about medical stuff and things wrong and all that. And we were three people that are not on any medication, which in this day and age
Mhm.
is pretty remarkable because a lot of people
Right.
they're on this for anxiety, they're on this. And I have no problem with that. But if they're doing these things in conjunction with alcohol, then they need to have a word because, like me and you, I guess, when we were 14, we started drinking and it would normally most often be in a social environment. I didn't start really solo drinking until much, much later on, towards the end.
Right.
So it was always a social thing for me.
Mhm.
So I didn't know how to act in a social environment without alcohol. So when people
Mhm.
say they get anxiety, it's because they're normally used to going to social events, probably to have a drink, and then it loosens them up, and they're like, okay, I'm into this social environment. Don't get me wrong, when I started going to social engagements when I was sober, yeah, man, it's difficult. It's a whole new learning curve because you think
Mhm.
you start getting like very paranoid and like, actual fact, if everyone else is drinking, they don't give two shits what you're doing or what you're drinking.
Right.
They're only caring about what funny story they can, or, they
Mhm.
think is a funny story to tell people. So once you get that in that mindset, it starts getting easier to go to social gatherings and things without the alcohol. Um, and yeah, but I guess we're all a whole couple of generations that don't know how to socialize without alcohol. Yeah, there's a couple of people, but the majority of people do it, and that's how they get on. And if you go to like a wedding or a birthday party or whatever, Christmas time, I would say about 90% of the people in that room are drinking, and
Yeah.
that's it's quite a sad state of affairs for our society if this
Mhm.
is the only way we can socialize. Let's strip everything
Mhm.
down. Let's get back to basics and learn how to be humans and interact with each other without this need for this drug to be able to speak to each other, because we're already becoming really insular in our worlds with our phones and our it's easy to say we're keeping up in touch with friends by liking a picture or uh, sending them a little Facebook message, but to actually go
Mhm.
and physically chat and have a coffee, let's do more of that because I love it. I love having deep and meaningful conversations. I've just
Right.
met you, Ricky, and we're having this amazing, heart to heart, in-depth conversation,
Right.
and I love it. Whereas when I was
Mhm.
drinking and I'd meet buddies in the bar, we talked about shit, you know?
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
to me, looking back, that's not connection. That's not living. So yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So what advice would you give to people that were, so you did you say you're 9 months sober now? Yeah.
No, I'm to see September will be 3 years.
Oh, sorry. So 3 years. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what advice would you give to someone that was kind of just starting out? Maybe if they were a gray area drinker or they're sober curious, or like us, getting really kind of down with it and want to just kind of knock it on the head. What advice?
Um, don't try to do it alone. Don't be
Mm,
ashamed. Reach out to somebody for help. There's a lot of people that'll help you. Go see a professional. Go, I mean, if you're drinking a lot, don't try to stop on your own. It's dangerous.
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
mean, alcohol is one of the most dangerous things to detox from
Yeah,
because of like strokes and stuff like that. It's not just like a lot of other kind of drugs you can just kind of stop and get nauseous for 2 or 3 days. That can actually kill you.
yeah.
Um, I would say analyze yourself. One, see if you have. Do you think you have a problem? If you don't think you do, try to go a few days without.
Mm,
See how you feel.
mm-hmm.
Um, when you do, like I said, don't try alone. Reach out for some help. Whether if you're drinking a lot, go ahead and get professional help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even if you have to just go to a hospital and let them detox you at a hospital. Um, get the knowledge on it. Work a plan. Work a plan every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm almost 3 years sober. I still work a plan every day.
Yeah,
I have things scheduled throughout my day. Sobriety is my number one job. Everything else falls in line behind it because if I don't maintain that, everything's going to shit.
yeah,
You know, and
yeah,
stay mentally healthy.
yeah.
If you have, it's not a sissy to get a count. I ain't talking. Hey, I'm a manly dude, but I don't walk around crying and stuff all the time by no means. But you know, go see a counselor, get you a circle of guys, whether it be through like a AA or through a church or through however you work. Get some
Mm-hmm.
guys you can talk to and open up. Be free. Quit carrying all that burden on your own. Find your higher power. We wouldn't design to solve all the world's problems on our own by ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you, Ricky, and it's good advice, man. And it's yeah, we live in a world where we do all think we can do this, we can survive this, this will get better, or I'll sort this out next week, or
Mm-hmm.
just keep putting it off, or I got this, in the back of your head, it's like I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it until I got help, and you know what?
Right.
It's okay to ask for help,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, people have been there before us and they're okay. They're sober, like you and me now. So it's like anyone that's coming up, it's like, just ask me. My DM's always open, like I'm sure with you. And it's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
just ask what we did and or listen to the podcast and yeah. Not saying that our way is, the only way. It's there's so many other ways, but it worked for me, it worked for you. So yeah. And we've got quite similar, I guess, paths, but there's so many other different paths as well. But I think that main one is support and asking for help, and yeah, it kind of makes it easier.
People that are in recovery are very eager to help others.
Yeah.
It's like nothing else I've ever seen before.
Hmm.
That once you're set free, you just want to go back and rescue as many people as you can.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you're putting someone out by reaching out that's in recovery and asking them to help you, because I
Yeah.
promise they will.
Yeah. I like that. I like what you said there, like reaching back and rescue. I just had like a vision of, like, I don't know, leaving some kind of disaster or whatever, and just like reaching your hand down and grabbing as many people up onto the boat or the rescue ship or whatever you can do.
Yeah.
That kind of that image came into my head there, and that's what we're doing. It's just kind of no man left behind, no woman left behind. Let's get them all on
Right.
board because we can raise those numbers from 4% to like I don't know, whatever, 10%, 20%. Let's get more and more people surviving this horrible, horrible disease.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, lastly, Ricky, would you say you regret getting sober, man?
Absolutely not. I have not met anyone that says, "Man, I wish I hadn't I got sober."
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine someone going, "Oh, this is shit." This clarity of living and being able to have decent conversations, and I feel
Yeah.
better. I feel healthier. I remember my weekends. This sucks. No, yeah, not at all. Not
And the
at all.
money you have now is not bad
Yeah,
either. Now, if you're
it's not
not,
bad.
you go to work and you don't spend it all on alcohol. It's
Yeah,
amazing. You can actually make some money and have
yeah.
some memories of things and
Oh,
have a good life you don't want to have to hide from
no,
because your life is actually good. It's not perfect,
no,
but
no.
it's good. That's different things. There's no such thing as perfect.
Yeah, there's going
And
to
a
be
lot of it's
days.
what you make out of it.
Yeah, there's days, life is peaks and troughs, not mountains and valleys anymore. That's the thing. And it's like someone said,
Mhm.
what is it? My worst day in addiction. Oh no, sorry, my best day in addiction. Am I getting this right? My worst day sober far outweighs the best day in addiction by far. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, without a
Absolutely.
doubt. Ricky, do you have any recommendations on, like recovery type books or films that you've watched or read really recently?
Now, there's a video, um, and I'm fixing to mess this up. Brandon Novak. You ever
Hmm.
heard of him?
I know Brandon. I mean, I don't know him personally. He's not a buddy, but yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah,
Have you watched any of his videos of
yeah,
his story? Um, he really paints a great picture of addiction
yeah,
that I could really identify with.
yeah,
That's something I would suggest to people because he's still in the fight. He's
yeah,
creating sober living homes and stuff like that for people. But there's a lot out there. I would just search out podcast videos, this podcast,
yeah, yeah.
and
Thanks, man.
get active. Uh, like in your social media, my Instagram account has nothing other than recovery stuff. I don't follow people that it's all recovery based
Yeah, yeah,
because that's all I want to take in
yeah.
through my social media. I don't want to take in political stuff or drama. It's all for my encouragement.
Yeah, you want to tailor your algorithm if that's a possibility. Do you know what I mean? Obviously,
Mhm.
we're going to get stuff flash up, but like
Right.
I was there with my friend a few years ago, and he was out having a cigarette, and I was having a vape, and we were both looking at our Instagram. His had all this drum and bass stuff come up because that's what he's into.
Mhm.
Mine was all like recovery stuff, and I was like, I've
Yeah.
kind of honed my algorithm to that. So yeah, I
Right.
totally get that. Yeah, yeah, and
And,
that
and it also helps you see that you're not the only one going through a
yeah.
certain thing, that there's other people going through it too. Addiction's very isolating. It makes you feel alone just so you'll absorb more of it. But you're not alone.
Absolutely. We watched one of the Brandon Novak videos in rehab actually, and there's one where I think it's like an hour long or something. So it might be one of the ones you're talking about. He's in like a red leather chair and he's just sat
Yeah.
there and he's talking about how he thought he was like the master of his addiction because he knew exactly what he needed. It was like, he needed this quarter tequila. I'm getting all wrong what it was, but for example, it was
Mhm.
like I needed a quarter tequila. I needed like like 5 grams of crack or whatever. That was probably too much. But do you know what I mean? He had this set amount of what he needed every day, and that was it. And he was like, "This is it." I knew exactly what my addiction needed, and this is it. But it got worse, and of course it got worse. But
Mhm.
he was like thinking in those days that he could manage it, and he knew he was addicted. But it was like as long as I get what I need, then I could function, and I was okay. But obviously, as you and I know. it escalates. So yeah, I'll definitely put that in the description of the podcast because it's a great video. I'll need to watch it again. I haven't watched it in years, but he's
Yeah.
so engaging and like I
Yeah.
follow him on Instagram. His stuff is
Yeah.
all
Me
about
too.
recovery. Do you know what I mean? That's just his full like kind of ethos
Hmm.
and what he's into. So yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
I love that man. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners before we go, man?
Uh, I don't believe so.
No, cool. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today,
Uh,
Ricky. Absolute
I
pleasure, mate.
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You've
And
got a
like
great.
anyone is able to reach out to me as well.
Yeah,
Just like you said, my direct message is always open as well.
yeah. And just tell people what is your handle on Instagram. I'll put it in the description as well. But what are you? Where can people find you?
Rick's Road to Recovery.
Yeah, man. It's a great page. I love it.
Uh,
So
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, man. Well,
All
appreciate
right.
you coming on, mate. And yeah, we'll chat again soon. Cheers, Ricky.
All right.
Take it
Thanks.
easy, mate. Bye bye. Bye bye. Thanks, Ricky. Yeah, such a lovely man. Did anyone else get the kind of? And I hope you don't find this disrespectful, Ricky, when you're listening back. But I just got the sense of Big Dan from Roseanne, John Goodman. You just sound very much like him. And he is in recovery, I believe, as well. And did a great film with Denzel Washington called Flight. If anyone's not seen that, it's great. I'll put that in the show notes. But thanks again, Ricky. Such an amazing conversation. To just go from, like drinking through the night, 3 a.m., getting up to do a couple of shots. Like your new partner, who subsequently became your wife, had no idea about this drinking that you were doing, and to just get yourself into admit to her, get yourself into rehab, which sound quite toxic, at the best of times, in that one that you were in. um but then to try and drink again. This is the insanity of addiction. To think, yeah, I've cleaned myself up, I'll be okay. And it doesn't work out that way, as we know. And to then use that, symbolic, water receptacle, to hide the booze. You could have used anything else. It's almost like a kind of, fuck you to sobriety by using that bottle. It just kind of screams red flags, doesn't it? I mean, we're way past the red flags at this point. But then to kind of have the foresight to kind of check yourself back in, is just, so commendable, Ricky. So, well done on that. Again, yeah, so sorry to hear about, losing your sister. But, at 90 days, so close to just using that as an excuse or a reason to start drinking again. So again, well done you for kind of having the foresight again to tell your partner, your wife, then to keep an eye on you and just make sure that you're keeping to your program, and just keeping on the straight and narrow. I just I could hear the pain in Ricky's voice, and just the despair that he's now having to, obviously he wants to bring up his granddaughter, but the situation that he's having to, because his daughter is in the throes of addiction. So my heart goes out, but I just hope that she can find her way back like Ricky did. And yeah, it's just a tough disease. Tough isn't even the word. It's an absolute destructive disease, and it's horrendous. But Ricky's come out the other side, and he's doing all right. So you can get Ricky on Rick's Road to Recovery on Instagram. I'm gonna put that in the show notes, in the description. I've also found the Brandon Novak. Yeah, is it a documentary? Is it a piece of camera? It's kind of a mixture of all two. It's his story. It's his share. It's about an hour and 10 minutes long. He's not in a red leather chair. He's in a lovely kind of upholstered chair, but it's a great video. So if you do get a chance, watch that. I spoke about Jen's hen do. It's now been a couple of weeks since the hen do, and Jen came back in, and the same as I said, I've said before in the podcast. I don't think I've ever seen Jen drunk. She thought she was drunk, but she really wasn't. She'd had drinks, but really not too discernible to even see that she was inebriated. So, it was a good mix. I think some of the girls were drinking, some weren't. Her sister Abby was driving, so she managed to, she could bring her back up the road, so I didn't even have to. I think they were back here by maybe half 10, 11. They had a fantastic day, but as I say, it was a good mix of drinkers to non-drinkers, so it didn't get too wild, but they had a fantastic time, and that's kind of what it's all about. I just think that the drinking situation for a lot of people is just drink as hard and as fast as you can. So yeah. Another point, when I moved in here, my cats are quite big on Instagram, Poppy especially, but I did have, well, we still have Penny, who's about maybe 3 years coming up now, 3 years old, and she's decided to go back to the village that I used to live in. She's just, packed her suitcase and off she trotted. We've seen her. We have people looking out for her. She's just decided not to come back yet. She won't come to me when I go up. I've seen her, but she's a bit feral. She was born on a farm, and I don't really know what to do at this point. Obviously we love her. We don't want to start setting traps to trap her. Just hope that maybe the food source might kind of get a bit dwindled and she'll make her way home. So we will see, but I will update you on that one in the future. But she seems to be happy and healthy from the sightings and from what I've seen as well. So yeah, thanks again, Ricky. Thank you to everyone that's been listening, and I will I don't know what I'm going to say there. Yeah, if you could just leave comments, hit the 5-star review, or hit the 1 star and let me know why. Yeah, follow, subscribe, share. We want as many people to kind of hear these stories. If you've enjoyed it, then share it about on Instagram, Facebook, wherever. And yeah, just thank you to people in Ireland. I noticed the other day I was number 5 in the alternative health chart, so thank you to all my Irish friends of the podcast. So yeah, until next week, stay safe, stay supportive, and stay sober. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.